For the past decade, I've been researching the triangulation of the efforts put forward by Jefferson, Madison, and Protestant religious dissenters, primarily Virginia Baptists, toward the passage for the Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom. It's easy to find works on Jefferson and religion and Madison and politics, but works on a mostly forgotten segment of Virginia's religious past are a little more difficult to come by. Two dissertations really stood out. The first I chose was from Notre Dame in 2010 by Nicholas Patrick Miller, which was directed by Mark Knoll, which lends it some gravitas in this field. It was titled Religious Roots of the First Amendment, Dissenting Protestantism, and the Separation of Church and State. The purpose for Miller's work was to highlight the importance of religious belief as a key contributing factor in religious disestablishment in America. He does it by examining the public works of 7 key individuals, including John Locke, Isaac Backus, John Witherspoon, and James Madison, who he identified as important in connecting the philosophy of the Enlightenment with Protestant theology. He chose to focus on readily available sources, such as sermons, speeches, legislative petitions, and popular pamphlets that contained key phrases like priesthood of believers, right to scriptural interpretation, or right of private judgment. He was very careful to contextualize these so he could understand what their words said about the views of the time. When choosing his 7 thinkers, he used 3 specific criteria: that they thought and wrote in theological terms, that they applied their theology to church-state relations, and that they were public and connected by chronology and geography to the events leading to disestablishment, so he could be certain that they had some influence on them. He ends his work with some key thoughts on why modern America doesn't really understand church-state relations in the same way our founders did. The philosophy of the modern right and left are so fundamentally different from the people of the 18th century that we can't really discuss what disestablishment and freedom of religion meant to them. He can conclude that the secularization that took place over the late 19th and early 20th century led to this change. The second work I chose was from Alicia Tucker at Georgetown University in 2013, titled Politicians and Petitions: Passing the Bill for Establishing Religious Freedom in Virginia. Tucker argues that although Jefferson as the author and Madison as the political mastermind were key in ensuring the passage of the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom, the legislation never would have been approved by the General Assembly if not for the numerous petitions from dissenting religious people that flooded the legislative body during Henry's plan for general assessment. Although the founders who had taken leadership roles in Virginia seemed to be of one mind on the general subject of liberty, they differed on what that meant in relation to government. Though disestablishment had been attempted in the early days of the Commonwealth, the ruling elites maintained enough power that they were easily able to squash it. She argues that it was the American Revolution that spurred popular unrest that saw thousands of individuals sign Madison's memorial and remonstrance as a sort of circular petition that expressed a popular view. Tucker used a variety of letters and journals as well as drafts of official documents to draw her connections between various individuals and groups. And in doing so, she constructs a narrative that begins with Madison's introduction of an amendment to Mason's Virginia Declaration of Rights, goes through the American Revolution, and ends in the final defeat of Henry's general assessment and the passage of Jefferson's statute. She concludes that it was the general populace of Virginia, not just the political elite, who have forever shaped the relationship between church and state in America. The petitions they sent both before and after the general assessment debate sent a clear signal that freedom of conscience was an inherent right and they would accept nothing less than it be legislatively guaranteed. The scholarship on these 2 works is amazing, and it really adds dimension to my area of interest. I now have some new questions to ask about theology, philosophy, ideology, and how they make their way into the public opinion in the 18th century.